You are being influenced right now. Every conversation, every decision, every moment someone asks you for something. Influence flows through your life like electricity through wiring you cannot see. But here is what changes everything. Influence is not inherently corrupt. It is a force. Like fire, like gravity. It exists whether you acknowledge it or not. The question is not whether you will encounter influence. The question is whether you will understand it well enough to recognize when it is being used against your interests and skilled enough to use it in service of your values. Robert Cialdini spent his career mapping the architecture of human persuasion. He discovered that influence operates through predictable patterns, psychological shortcuts that helped our ancestors survive, but now make us vulnerable to those who understand the mechanisms. Most people stumble through life being pushed and pulled by forces they never learned to name. They feel vaguely manipulated but cannot articulate why. They give in to requests they wanted to refuse. They buy things they did not need. They agree to terms that do not serve them. This creates a quiet desperation, a sense that everyone else got the manual and you are improvising. The truth is simpler and harder. Influence is illiteracy. You either learn to read it or you remain functionally illiterate in the most important language of human interaction. We are going to examine 7 principles that govern how humans say yes, not so you can exploit people, but so you can recognize these patterns when they are deployed against you and choose consciously when to use them in ethical ways. This will be uncomfortable because you will see how often you have been guided without realizing it. Good awareness is the first stage of sovereignty. Your brain operates on an ancient ledger system. When someone gives you something, your neural chemistry immediately registers a debt. This happens before conscious thought, before choice. Cialdini discovered that even unwanted gifts create obligation, a free sample, an unsolicited favor, a compliment you never requested. Suddenly you owe. Watch how this plays out. A colleague stays late to help you with a project you never asked them to rescue. 2 weeks later, they need you to cover for their mistake. You say yes even though it costs you. Why? Because your amygdala registered the first act as debt and will punish you with guilt if you refuse repayment. The sophisticated operator understands this completely. They give first, they give small. They give strategically. Then they collect with interest. The religious organizations that mail you free address labels. The car salesman who brings you coffee. The manipulative friend who does unrequested favors, then guilts you into compliance. They are farming your reciprocity reflex. Here is the override. When someone gives you something you did not request, you say thank you and you stop there. No debt exists. You do not owe repayment for gifts you never solicited. Real reciprocity happens between equals who both consent to exchange. Everything else is leverage disguised as generosity. Practice this tomorrow. Someone will offer you something small. Notice the immediate pressure to reciprocate. Notice how your body tenses if you imagine not returning the favor. That tension is not morality, it is biology. Thank them, accept if you want it. A we nothing. This is reciprocity sovereignty. You reserve your loyalty for genuine mutual exchange, not manufactured obligation. You said yes once, now you are trapped. Your brain will torture you to stay consistent with that initial commitment, even when circumstances change completely. Cialdini proved that humans will maintain obviously wrong positions just to avoid the psychological pain of contradiction. This is the commitment trap. Someone gets you to agree to something small. Sign a petition. Make a public statement. Take a tiny first step. Your identity absorbs this position. Then they escalate. Suddenly you are defending something you never truly believed, because backing out would mean admitting you were wrong, and your nervous system treats that admission like social death. Watch this in relationships. You tell someone you will try to make it work. That single statement becomes a cage. Months later, when every signal says, "Leave, you stay," because leaving means you are the kind of person who breaks their word. Your past self holds your present self hostage. The skilled manipulator knows exactly how this works. They get small agreements first. They make you state positions publicly. They reference your previous commitment when asking for more. You agreed to help occasionally. Now they expect you weekly. You said you valued the relationship. Now you must tolerate, disrespect, or contradict yourself. Here is the override. Your past commitments are information, not contracts. When you discover you were wrong, you say so clearly and without shame. I thought this would work. New information suggests otherwise. I am changing course. The discomfort you feel is not moral failure. It is growth. People who never update their positions are not loyal. They are rigid. They are controlled by their own history. Practice this publicly. Change your mind about something and announce it. Watch who respects your evolution and who tries to lock you into your former position. The second group wants control, not connection. This is consistency, sovereignty. You are not owned by your past. Your brain is constantly scanning for what everyone else is doing, because for 200,000 years, following the crowd meant survival. If the tribe runs, you run. If the tribe stops, you stop. This reflex saved your ancestors from predators. Now it makes you buy things you do not need and believe things you never examined. Cialdini showed that humans will ignore their own perception if enough people contradict it. The Ash conformity experiments proved this brutally. People will say a line is shorter when it is clearly longer, just because 5 strangers said so first. Your eyes see truth. Your social brain overrides your eyes. Watch how this governs you. You walk past a restaurant. It is empty. You keep walking. Next week you see a line outside. Suddenly you want in. Nothing changed except other people validated it. You hold an opinion until you discover you are alone. Then your conviction evaporates. You were not wrong. You were outnumbered. Your brain cannot tell the difference. The manipulator weaponizes this constantly. Fake reviews, manufactured crowds, testimonials from people you will never meet. They create the illusion of consensus, then watch you conform. The politician who says everyone agrees. The salesperson who claims this is their most popular product. The friend who tells you what everyone thinks about you. They are hacking your herd instinct. Here is the override. When you feel pressure because everyone else is doing something, you pause and ask a different question. What do I actually observe? What does the evidence show? What would I conclude if I were the only person evaluating this? The crowd is often right, but when the crowd is wrong, it is catastrophically wrong, because everyone stopped thinking simultaneously. Practice this weekly. Do something that goes against visible consensus. Eat alone at the full restaurant. Defend the unpopular position. Buy the thing no one is buying if it serves you. Notice the anxiety. That is your social brain screaming danger. Override it consciously. This is social proof sovereignty. You follow evidence, not crowds. You see a white coat and your critical thinking shuts down. You hear a title and your nervous system relaxes. You encounter credentials and suddenly you stop evaluating the actual information. Cialdini documented how deeply humans are wired to obey authority, even when that authority is obviously illegitimate or wrong. The Milgram experiments revealed this horror. Ordinary people administered what they believed were lethal electric shocks to strangers simply because someone in a lab coat told them to continue. They heard screaming, they wanted to stop. But the authority figure said, "Proceed," and they obeyed. Your ancestors survived by respecting tribal hierarchy. You inherited that reflex. Now it makes you vulnerable to anyone who can perform authority convincingly. Watch how this controls you. The doctor says something that contradicts your research. You ignore your research. The boss makes a clearly bad decision. You implement it anyway. Someone with an impressive title speaks, and you stop questioning their logic. Your brain is not evaluating truth, it is evaluating rank. These are not the same thing. The sophisticated manipulator knows exactly how to exploit this. They display credentials, they use jargon, they speak with certainty, they reference their experience, they create the aesthetic of expertise, and your brain does the rest, the financial advisor in the expensive suit, the consultant with the impressive resume, the influencer with the large following. They are performing authority and you are performing deference. Here is the override. Every time someone invokes their authority, you ask for their evidence, not aggressively. Calmly, what data supports this? How do you know? What would disprove your position? Real expertise can answer these questions easily. False authority will become defensive or appeal to credentials again. That defensiveness is your signal. Practice this daily. Challenge one authority figure politely. Ask your doctor why. Ask your boss for the reasoning. Ask the expert for their sources. Notice how few people ever do this. Notice how uncomfortable it feels. That discomfort is your deference reflex dying. This is authority sovereignty. You respect competence, not titles. Your dopamine system was designed for a world where food was genuinely scarce and opportunities disappeared permanently. When resources became limited, your ancestors who acted immediately survived. Those who hesitated starved. You carry that same neurochemistry in a world where artificial scarcity is manufactured constantly to hijack your decision-making. Cialdini proved that people value things more highly, simply because they are told. Those things are rare or running out. The exact same product becomes more desirable when supply appears limited. This is not rational. This is your brain misfiring in an abundant world, using reflexes designed for scarcity. Watch how this dominates you. Limited time offer. Only 3 left. Exclusive access. Your heart rate increases. Your thoughts narrow. You stop evaluating whether you actually want the thing and start fearing you will lose the chance to have it. The decision shifts from, "Is this good for me?" to, "Can I get it before it disappears?" This is not choice. This is panic. The manipulator creates false scarcity constantly. The car salesman who says another buyer is interested. The real estate agent who mentions multiple offers. The romantic partner who implies other options. They are not reporting scarcity. They are manufacturing urgency. Your dopamine spikes, your prefrontal cortex goes offline. You say yes to things you would have said no to with time to think. Here is the override. When you feel urgency, you slow down deliberately. Any opportunity that requires immediate action without time for evaluation is probably designed to bypass your judgment. Real opportunities allow consideration. Fake opportunities demand instant commitment. The pressure itself is information. Practice this monthly. Let something scarce disappear. Do not buy the limited item. Do not claim the urgent offer. Watch it go. Notice that your life continues perfectly. Notice that new opportunities appear. That missed chance you feared was not the last chance. It was a test of your nervous system. This is scarcity sovereignty. You decide based on value, not urgency. You are far more likely to say yes to someone attractive, someone similar to you, someone who compliments you. Cialdini demonstrated that likability is one of the most powerful influence tools because your brain conflates warmth with trustworthiness. These are completely separate qualities, but your nervous system fuses them automatically. This is why salespeople are trained to find common ground quickly. They notice your college mascot. They mention they also have kids. They compliment your taste. They mirror your body language. This is not authentic connection. This is manufactured similarity designed to lower your defenses. It works because your oxytocin system evolved to bond with familiar tribe members, and someone who seems like you triggers that ancient circuitry. Watch how this operates in your life. The charming colleague who always compliments you gets your help immediately. While the competent but awkward colleague waits, you trust the attractive financial advisor more than the plain one, even though attractiveness has zero correlation with financial skill. Someone insults you and you refuse their good idea. Someone flatters you and you accept their bad idea. You are not evaluating proposals. You are evaluating feelings. The sophisticated manipulator knows this intimately. They study you for commonalities. They emphasize shared background. They validate your opinions before making requests. They make themselves pleasant and similar. And suddenly your critical thinking dissolves. The friendly scammer, the toxic partner who love bombs, the charismatic leader who demands loyalty. They are hijacking your liking bias, and you are confusing chemistry with character. Here is the override. Separate the person from the proposal completely. When someone you like makes a request, evaluate it as if a stranger made the same request. When someone you dislike offers information, evaluate it as if a trusted advisor offered it. This is brutally difficult because your emotions want to stay fused to your judgments. Resist. Practice this weekly. Say no to someone you like. Say yes to someone you dislike. Base both decisions purely on whether the request or offer serves you. Notice the guilt when you refuse the likable person. Notice the resistance when you accept from the unlikable person. Those feelings are not moral guidance. They are biological static. This is liking sovereignty. You reward results, not feelings. Cialdini later identified this as the most powerful principle. Unity goes beyond liking. It taps into shared identity. When someone positions themselves as part of your tribe, your brain stops treating them as separate. They become us, and your defenses collapse completely because evolution taught you that tribal bonds ensure survival. This operates through family language, through shared struggle, through common enemies, through group identity. We are both veterans. We both grew up poor. We are both part of this community. The moment that we forms your brain releases oxytocin and your critical evaluation shuts down. You trust them not because they earned it, but because they claimed kinship. Watch how this captures you. Someone mentions they went to your university and suddenly you feel connection. They reference your profession and you lower your guard. They invoke your political identity and you stop questioning their logic. They are not making better arguments. They are wearing your colors Your brain reads this as alliance and stops scanning for threat. The manipulator weaponizes unity ruthlessly, the cult leader who calls followers family, the politician who invokes shared heritage, the scammer who claims common background. They are hacking your tribal circuitry. They know that once you see them as us, you will forgive their failures, excuse their contradictions, and defend them against outsiders, even when they harm you. This is how destructive groups maintain control, not through logic. Through manufactured belonging. Here is the override. Shared identity does not equal aligned interests. Someone can be part of your tribe and still exploit you. In fact, tribal belonging is often used precisely because it makes exploitation easier. You must maintain boundaries even with your in-group. Especially with your in-group, real community respects your autonomy. Fake community demands you sacrifice your judgment to maintain belonging. Practice this monthly. Say no to someone in your tribe. Refuse a request from family. Challenge a friend. Disagree with your political group. Notice the intense pressure to comply. Notice how betrayal gets invoked. That pressure reveals the group values conformity over your well-being. This is unity sovereignty. You stay useful, but never fused. You remain prepared to detach. You now have the vocabulary. You can name what was previously invisible. But knowledge alone changes nothing. Most people will finish this video feeling temporarily empowered and then return to their default patterns within 48 hours. Why? Because awareness without practice is just spectating. You must build new reflexes through deliberate repetition. Here is how you begin. Protocol 1. The recognition pause. When someone makes a request, notice which principle they are using. Are they invoking reciprocity? Are they creating false scarcity? Are they leveraging social proof? Just naming it internally creates distance between stimulus and response. Practice this 10 times this week. Protocol 2. The conscious yes. Before agreeing to anything significant, ask yourself one question. Am I saying yes because this serves my values or because a psychological trigger is firing? If you cannot answer clearly, the answer is no. For now, practice this 5 times this week. Protocol 3. The ethical deployment. Choose one principle and use it consciously in a way that benefits both parties. Help someone say yes to something genuinely good for them by understanding how their mind evaluates decisions. Notice how different this feels from manipulation. Practice this 3 times this week. The difference between influence and manipulation is intent and consent. Manipulation seeks to benefit the influencer at the expense of the influenced. Ethical influence aligns interests and respects autonomy. You can be skilled at persuasion without being predatory. In fact, you must be. But I need to tell you something uncomfortable. The people who will try to influence you unethically are often not cartoon villains. They are desperate salespeople trying to make quota. They are well-meaning friends who genuinely believe their way is best. They are institutions that have optimized persuasion without examining ethics. You cannot afford to be naive about this. A person who does not understand influence will be controlled by it. A person who understands influence but refuses to use it will be outmaneuvered by those with fewer scruples. A person who understands influence and uses it ethically becomes genuinely powerful, because they can create willing cooperation instead of resentful compliance. You are no longer unconscious to these forces. You are no longer reactive, you are choosing. But choice requires courage. It requires disappointing people. It requires saying no when every social signal tells you to say yes. It requires using influence, even when part of you believes nice people should not need to persuade. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I recognize influence and I choose consciously. Most people will watch this and change nothing. Their old patterns feel safer than new competence. Their social conditioning is stronger than their commitment to growth. They will remain fluent in being influenced and illiterate in influencing back. Are you different? If this shifted something in, you understand that we have only touched the surface. There are advanced applications of these principles. There are counter-tactics for sophisticated manipulators. There are ethical frameworks for using influence in leadership and relationships. Some of this cannot be discussed in a public format because it requires nuance and context that does not survive social media. That exists for those who join, most will not. That is how it should be. Subscribe if you have not. I will see you in the next one.